Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sasha Grabenstetter, and I'm from the University of Illinois Extension. And this afternoon, we are talking about being money smart. We have some great other extension educators from around the country, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But I also need them to answer my question about if you were an ice cream flavor, what flavor would you be? Who wants to start?
I'll go first.
Okay, Lorna, great.
So I'm Lorna Wounded Head from South Dakota State University Extension, and I am the Family Resource Management Field Specialist there. And I absolutely love ice cream, but for some reason the flavor of strawberry popped into my head right when you asked that question. So that must be the one.
I love it. I love it. Laura, how about you?
Hi, I'm Laura Hendrix. I'm with the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture Cooperative Extension Service, and a big fan of ice cream. I normally lean toward the chocolate flavors, but I think if I were an ice cream flavor, it would be peppermint.
Ooh, that's a good one. What about you, Jinnifer?
Hello there, I'm Jinnifer Ortquist with Michigan State University Extension. I think I would choose Superman.
Superman. Oh, see, my son loves that flavor. It's like banana, yes, and cherry.
And
right?
It makes your face all blue.
Okay, yeah, that's a great flavor. I like it. What about you, Jesse?
Jesse Ketterman, University of Maryland Extension. I'm an extension educator in the western part of Maryland. You know, I'm going to stick with that plain vanilla ice cream, but give me the toppings to put on the top, whether it's chocolate chips, hot fudge, it doesn't matter. All the good stuff.
I like
all
it.
The good stuff.
If I had to answer my own question, it would be key lime ice cream. I like the tartness and that just would be me. So let's get started. So the first question we have, and everyone's kind of tweeting about it already, but I want to know, what does it mean to be money smart?
I would say for me, it boils down to two things, regardless of how life is going, is to make sure that my bills are paid on time and that I always have an emergency fund.
Great. What about you, Lorna? You look like you're like.
Well, yeah, today I've had two presentations or presented at two college classes here on campus, and I was talking about creating an emergency fund and how tough it is as a college student to create an emergency fund. But the other thing I talked about was having resources to be able to answer some of your financial questions. And so I think to be money smart is to maybe know that you don't know everything there is to know about finances, and you're willing to maybe educate yourself and to look in and get more information. I mean, it doesn't mean that you don't know stuff, but just to be aware that there might be other ways, other tools to be able to use, but just to be open to learning more about your finances.
I love that answer. That's great. Does anyone else want to share what they think it means to be money smart?
I think there is one more component to money smart. I think it's not just the knowledge and skills, but also having that, I don't know if it's self-control or motivation or whatever, to implement the behaviors and not just know about them. So I think if you're really money smart, you're doing those things that you know are the behaviors that will lead you to financial stability.
I like it. Knowledge, behaviors, skills. Jesse, do you have anything to add before we move on and check out on Twitter?
Well, I would say, you need to understand what your situation is, because, I think everybody's situation with money is different, right? Some people are dealing with debt. Some people are dealing with how to find more income. Some people are thinking about investing. And so there's a really broad spectrum. And I think part of being money smart is knowing what your situation is and being able to address your situation with the knowledge and skills that you need.
Great. Okay. Well, over on the Twitter, they've already answered this question because they're Speedy Gonzalez's. But over there, we have Jerry Buchko says that to me, being money smart means having both money / personal finance knowledge and the skills to apply what I know. So basically, he just summarized everything you guys said, which is awesome. Great job, Jerry. He's like, Sasha, no. Okay, moving on. So question number 2. Question number 2 was, what is the first step that someone should take to become smarter about money? I'm going to let Jesse start this time.
You know, I think the first step is, well, I would say it's kind of twofold, right? I was first thinking knowing where your money goes, right? So being able to start tracking your money and knowing where it goes, but then also kind of folding right into that is, what are your goals and do you have your goals laid out, where you're trying to go? So I think those two kind of play hand in hand with one another.
Who else wants to jump in?
And then I would add to that what Lorna's about to say, and again, what she mentioned just a minute ago. So about knowing that you don't know everything. So just that the first step, I think, is to find out what you need to know to sort of build the knowledge and skills that you need.
Great. Jinnifer, what about you?
I think it's also important to understand our values too when it comes to money. Oftentimes when we do our classes, we'll say, are you a saver or a spender? Or are you somewhere in between? Because I have many participants who can actually save, but if there's a strong temptation or maybe a rough day and they might need a little bit of that retail therapy, it's really tempting to blow that savings. So kind of understanding how our values impact the choices we make.
Retail therapy, I could use that today. Lorna, what about you?
So I was thinking that, I mean, I've run into some people who are just don't even want to know what their situation is. I mean, they know they have debt, but they don't know for sure how much. So they just don't even want to look. They don't want to see what their balance is. So I think really the first step is just look at where you're at. You know, what is your income? What is your expenses? What is your debt? And just kind of lay it all out, because once you have all that information, then you can start setting goals, and then you can start tracking your spending, figuring out what might need to possibly change.
That's great. I think not putting our head in the sand like an ostrich is one of the better ways that we can continue one of the first steps we can take being money smart. So over on the Twitter, Barb O'Neill says she does write a blog, and so maybe that's a good first step to read about her blog. So she says shameless self-promotion. I will do that later. That's a different story. We also have from Wise Bread that just says, take the time to learn. And I think that's important too. So got some great answers over on the Twitter chat. So question number 3, what are some of the barriers to being money smart? I feel like sometimes we have barriers to being that way. So Laura, I'm gonna have you start.
Sure. The first thing that popped into my mind was misinformation. So I think that one challenge is, even if people make the effort to be proactive and trying to learn about financial management, there's so much misinformation out there. Consumers have to be really careful.
Yeah, and I was thinking about frame of mind, right? I think of the little steam engine going up the hill. I think I can, you know, like, you know, sometimes you can feel like you're defeated because you don't know how to address, you know, your overdue bills, and you don't know where to find more income and all those things. And you think, I just can't do this. And you've got to have that positive mindset of, you know, I can make it up this hill. I just got to take one step at a time.
I like that imagery of the train.
I try.
So I have a little one, so that imagery is great.
I was thinking maybe of something that's not a barrier to being money smart, but I would guess some people think is, and that's your income level. One of the things I love listening to podcasts, and I usually lean towards podcasts that are related to finances or economics. And I couldn't tell you which one was talking about this the other day, but and we know that, you know, your income level doesn't necessarily dictate your happiness, your financial happiness. And I think, and even if you are a college student where you have, you know, no money to do anything, what your income level is shouldn't impact your ability to figure out how to create a budget, figure out how to track your spending, and be able to set your financial goals. So I'm answering the opposite question of what should not be a barrier, and that would be what your income level is.
I like it. I think that's a good way to look at it too. Maybe it's not, you know, income levels they're not a barrier. You just need to be money smart. What about you, Laura?
So I think I started off by saying
You did information. I'm sorry.
Was Mr.
So bad. So sorry. Jeffrey, do you have anything you wanted to add? I apologize.
Another kind of a coordinate of that is knowing where to go for good information, right? Knowing where, so education and government resources, of course, cooperative exchange service, we know that's our thing that we do, is provide reliable, non-biased information.
Yeah. Jeffrey, do you have anything to add?
I was just going to chime in and just say that I wanted to dovetail off what Jesse mentioned earlier about goals. And I think goals can be sometimes limiting. If we only have a small emergency fund, that's not the same thing as maybe stratified goals, planning for unearned income, maybe long-term goals, such as retirement or a child's education or even our own education. So looking at savings in multi-levels or multi-facets, because if we only have a small amount set aside and we lose our job, they may not cover our expenses for 6 months. The other thing I was going to say about goals too is if there is more than one adult in the household, if there are conflicting goals or conflicting money values, then it's hard to work together and build consensus. So trying to find that happy medium when it comes to goals can sometimes be a challenge.
Those are great points. Just to add to it, like Kathy and Kamaya and I all are at Illinois Extension. We talk a lot about money personalities, and I know this was mentioned earlier about you, Jennifer. You said saver or spender, but I think there's more to that, and knowing really what your partner, your spouse, what they really value is a good thing to know. So let's check out Twitter. So over on Twitter, we have I saw from the Connecticut Families and Finances, which is our friend Faye Griffin Smith. She said it takes time and effort and research, but relevant, reliable information is available for free online via your local library. So that was a kind of like a Lorna answer. It was like a little bit opposite, some other ways to do that. We also have AFCPE answering, saying a lack of access to resources, to education and support. Also not knowing who to trust. Like Flora said, like that misinformation, we don't really know. We don't know who to trust. People put all sorts of crazy things on the internet. So there's that.
I noticed that Barb O'Neill identified that, I have to look and see exactly what she said, but it was about related to lack of mandatory financial education as a standalone graduation requirement. And I think there's a number of states have the graduation requirement, but there's inconsistency in terms of what necessarily needs to be taught within that. And I think one of my goals is to work closer with those high school teachers that are teaching the personal finance classes to make sure that it's more relevant and that we're not just checking off a box saying that we accomplished this, but like to have students walk out of high school really feeling better about their financial situation.
That's a great point. And Barb did make a great tweet. That's what she said about lack of mandatory financial education. So I know that all states are different, and I think that we can work as educators with those teachers who are teaching that are the next generation. That's great. So, okay, moving on. This kind of like leads into question number 4, right? We were talking about students in high school, but how can children and youth be money smart?
I think adult caregivers, whether they're parents or legal guardians, can be great role models. I know that when I was a youngster, we had an allowance and we had to save for our goals. So learning how to either save up a little bit over time, do different odd jobs to maybe create a bundle of resources at one time, but just understanding that management piece.
It's a good thing to remember. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, I think of my oldest son's in high school, and then we had that. He wanted to get a cell phone. Well, okay, there's a cost associated with that. You get to pay me monthly, and it's going to be different for everyone. He don't have to pay the full price of the phone, but to understand that, okay, if you want a phone, there's an expense that goes along with it, and then that point of showing him how to open a checking account. And he recently, over the weekend, we got his learner's permit. And so then he got to use his debit card for the first time. And so, there's real life opportunities that you can provide youth learn different money management skills. And then again, it's going to vary by age group. You know, you can start younger with reading books and talking about the difference between wants and needs. But I'm at that middle school, high school phase now, so that's my frame of reference.
I think Lorna's in that same frame of reference too, right, Lorna?
Yeah, my son is a senior in high school. He's going to head off to college next year, and we, gosh, sometimes I feel as a financial educator, I'm like the worst because my son definitely has a lot to learn. But it's kind of just modeling good financial practices is good, but not everybody likes to talk about their finances, and not everybody. When in the class I was presenting to this morning, the first question I ask the students is to respond to, what do you feel good about, or what do you do well when it comes to managing your finances? And some of the students responded parents. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by parents? And so their response was that, you know, their parents let them know when they're overspending and that type of thing, which is great. But I think sometimes as parents, we maybe identify the negative behaviors or the situations where money or the resource isn't available more than we talk about the times when there is money available and we can make some decisions. So I think the best way that children can become smarter about money is making sure the whole family is becoming smart about money, making sure that it's a conversation, even if things aren't going well, to just be aware that, or be upfront about it, that it's maybe the times are tough right now, but we can do different things in order to make things a little bit better.
I like that viewpoint. I think that helps to being on the positive with kids. I think that's a good viewpoint to have. So, Laura, do you have anything to add?
I do. I mean, we know kids learn about money management from their parents, so being good examples of talking about it, looking for teachable moments. I love Spend, Save, Share as a very beginning way to teach kids about money with some kind of clear, like clear plastic container or something where they can actually see their money when they're little. They're such concrete thinkers, and then teaching them to use banking services as they get older. And then we have a free online course here at University of Arkansas Extension. It's called Kids and Money. It's for parents or educators. It just covers 5 different modules about ways to teach your kids about money.
That's awesome. I didn't know about that. I'm gonna have to put that on my list of things because I have a toddler. I think most of you who are on the panel know that, but not, maybe our viewers know that. So I have been trying to introduce slowly, because my colleagues Kathy and Kamaya recently did a podcast on saving money, with being money smart with kids. And then so I was like, oh, I need to be money smart with my kid because he's only 2.5, right? So I actually got like a penny, a nickel, a dime and a quarter, and a dollar bill out, and we talked about the differences. And that was really fun for me. But I guess where I was going with that was the CFPB also has some really great resources for kids. And they have a whole Money as You Grow series from books that are already published. And you can actually you can go to the library and read that book, and then you can like print out the handouts and kind of have discussions with your kids. And I think that's a really great way to kind of get the little ones involved. And then as they get older, like Jesse and Lorna said, we kind of have more honest conversations and let them do things for the first time. So I think there's a good little wrap up of that question. But I also wanted to see what was on the Twitter. And so Janet Alvarez says parents should try to incorporate financial lessons into day-to-day life to teach kids about money. Kind of what Lorna and Jesse says. That was great. And then of course we see over it's UAEX Money, and they said free online courses. I'm guessing that's from you, Laura. So some great things going on over there on the chat. So question number 5. We're almost halfway through. How do you personally increase your money smartness? I want to hear these answers so badly. So
I really zoomed in on what Laura said about self-education. Even though this is my role, I'm passionate about it, but I also have certain goals too, and the only way that I can expedite my achievement of those are to prepare myself with information, because we don't know everything and things change sometimes. And so, as was mentioned earlier, either podcasts, webinars, self-study, reputable resources, all those things.
You know, I would add, you know, of course, all those things, and I listen to webinars and everything, but you also have to talk to others about money. You know, money's one of those subjects that people don't want to talk about because they don't know what their situation is like, and they don't know what someone else's situation is like, and they don't want to get in conversations about comparing one person's, you know, how much did you pay for interest on the car versus how much I paid for interest. But to have conversations about how you go about different things. But keep in mind that that doesn't mean the person you're talking to is an expert either, right? So, but it's a way to get information, and it's a way to engage in conversation around money. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. I think having more money conversations really helps too, because sometimes there are things you don't even know. Like I was listening to my colleague the other day talk about, we know a lot about student loans. We teach about them a lot during our webinars. And then she learned something new and she immediately texted me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I didn't know that. So, you know, I think just even talking to others about it.
And I think one thing we could add to this conversation, so we're talking about looking for resources and some self-study and actually personal finance, but another thing that's kind of popped up a little bit as we've talked about values and goals and money personality. I think there's a component of self-study involved in being money smart and increasing your money smartness too. My hobby job is teaching yoga, and I'm really interested in mindful money management. We talk about mindful eating, but mindful money management. So just taking that kind of that quiet time alone to explore your own thoughts and feelings about money, and to decide what your goals are and what your motivations are and how you can best use your resources to achieve your goals.
I like the idea of mindfulness with money. I think I also want to see how you incorporate it with yoga one day. So that's just that. What about you, Jinnifer?
Oh, I'm going to jump in here. Sorry. So I like that idea of mindfulness, and I think that it's maybe our perspective on money just personally evolves. I always thought that I always kind of looked at myself as being a saver, but it hasn't been until the last couple of years that I finally admitted that I'm actually a spender. I'm not you know, crazy off the wall, can't handle myself spender, but if I had a choice, like initially, like some people, when you get a lump sum of money, what are you going to do with it? You're going to spend it or save it. And my inclination is probably to spend it. And so once I figured that out, it helped me figure out some of my other financial management strategies, is not just admitting that, yep, this is how I am. But it's taken me a while to figure that out, even though I've been working with finances and I'm teaching finance topics and that type of thing for a long time. It still I think it's important to kind of figure out what your perspective is, and to know that no matter what it is, it's okay, as long as you're still paying your bills, saving some money, and being able to take care of yourself and your family.
Absolutely. I think that's totally true. And we talk about money values and how they can change over time. You know, and I'll use myself as an example. Certainly in my 20s, my spending habits were much different. Now I have a lot more responsibility now. And so as you talked about, Lorna, one of the things that I've come to terms with is I'm probably on the other extreme. I'm a diehard saver. And so sometimes I might forget to have fun and enjoy some things because I'm so focused on saving. So finding that happy medium for life balance too is good as well. So it's a journey, I think.
I think these are great answers, everybody. Just for me, I just want to chime in that one of the ways I've kind of increased my money smartness over the years is just going through personal life experiences. I'm a young millennial, and for the first time I got married, so dealing with personal finance with a spouse, that was difficult. And then we bought a house, and I was like, woohoo, we have a house. Oh, we have all these things we have to fix. Wonderful. And then I had a baby, and then both my parents passed. So I've had to go through the whole spectrum of single person, married person, homeowner and then dealing with estate planning. So I think that kind of helped me on my journey to become more money smart because I learned things along the way. Yeah. So checking out the Twitter. Twitter says, oh, I love that Elizabeth is also tweeting. She says, has anyone learned from the School of Hard Knocks? I have. I love. Yeah. I also love Elizabeth. She's awesome. Barbara O'Neill says that some ways she increases her money smartness. She has conversations with financial advisors. She has insurance reviews with her property insurance agent, and she learns something new about personal finance every day, usually from Twitter posts or Wall Street Journal. So those are some great ways. To talk more, we're on to question 6, everybody. Are you ready? We're in the second half. It's go time. Sorry, I'm really excited for the final 4. What are some free money smart apps that you like to use?
I don't use any app.
Really?
I like coupon apps, and I don't keep a lot of them, but your favorite grocery store that you go to every week, if you put the app on your phone, a lot of times just as you're shopping, you can look at those coupons, get the coupons that way and look at what's on sale. It's a really easy way for the stores that you're going to anyway. And then, pairing that with all those smart things we know about using coupons, and it's not really saving you money if it's something you're not going to buy or use anyway. So looking at that, and some stores let you use both a manufacturer coupon and a store coupon. You can find the store coupons on the app. So that's an app that I like that's free. And then similar to, but not exactly, I really like the free things that are on my online banking, my mobile banking. I feel good about using it because I know it's already a secure site. And then they have all those budget management tools in there. And it just makes it really easy to kind of categorize your spending and see where your money goes.
I should quantify. My husband uses the app and then tells me what to buy.
Oh, that's really good.
I'm kind of somewhere in the middle because, and I think the answer to the question is, it depends upon how you plan on using the app, right? I don't know. I jump on too many public Wi-Fi spots to feel comfortable putting, downloading the bank app and tracking my money that way. But what I do track, I use Every Dollar as an app, and I track how much I'm spending and how much my family spends on dining out. Those are the two big things. My electric bill and those things, I track them in a separate program altogether. But when I'm out and about, those are the two things I'm curious about, because those are the two places where my money disappears real fast. And so by having that on the app and just entering those categories, I can kind of keep track of that as I go throughout the month. But I think the answer to the question is, what are you looking for? How are you intending to use the app? And then that's going to determine what kind of app you need, and whether it's your own personal bank account and the app that they provide, or whether, I met a young man that was yesterday or 2 days ago that he was keeping track of all his stocks on his app. There's so many different options out there, and you got to figure out what works for you.
I'm just going to piggyback off of that, Jesse. I was looking at this app and I was super excited about it. I was like, this is cool. Like, it'll track all my expenses. I can stop using my Excel spreadsheet because I'm totally old school and like track every penny. And I didn't realize that when I joined it to my bank account, it would take a portion of my money from every week and put it in like a savings account, like take it from my account and hold it. And I was like, where's this money going? And I didn't even follow it for like 2 weeks. So I think you make a great point of like, you need to know what the app's using it and what you're using it for. So Lorna, do you want to follow up?
That's hilarious that you didn't know where your money was. I mean, it's not, but so I don't actually use many personal finance apps other than the app for my bank. And what I use there is just to be able to check balances and maybe to transfer, but also to do mobile deposits for my bank. I like Jesse's recommendation, though, of even just tracking that one expense. I guess as simple as that is, it didn't occur to me to be able to do that. And I think that would be helpful because in our family too, going out to eat is an expense that we could definitely make some changes regarding. And so if all of us have the app and can track the spending, then we're probably going to be better at maybe constraining ourselves or restraining ourselves a little bit with that.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's a great idea, Lorna, just to find one app, as Jesse said, to figure out like what is like that one thing that's kind of maybe draining my spending plan more than other places. So, but yes, I did not realize it was taking money out of our account. I had literally no idea. And I found out later. I told my husband, I was like, why is there $200 in this account? And he said, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. And so then I had to like turn it off. But that's a different story for a different day. So just be mindful of your apps. If you put your account on there, they might put money in someplace else. So let's look over at the Twitter. So I know there's some great information going on. So Barb O'Neill says, free Money Smart apps or Wells Fargo app if you have an account that allows you to check your FICO score 24/7, 365. That's pretty cool. Elizabeth says that in her opinion, there's a place for programs like PowerPay, and PowerPay does have an Apple iPhone app. So if you are looking, PowerPay is a great website that helps you reduce your debt and helps you pay off that debt a lot sooner. So if that's something you're interested in, they do have an Apple app. I know that. And then we have something about envelopes is an interesting app that Barb O'Neill says. So it seems like there's more questions about apps than answers. And so hopefully we'll get some more answers in the chat. But as we're chatting about that, we're going to move on to question number 7. Are you guys ready? Question 7 is, what is your proudest money smart moment? Who wants to start?
You don't want to come across as boastful on this one, so it's a little tricky. I have 2.
Okay.
I was able to buy a different vehicle that was more reliable. It was still used with cash based on my saving strategies, and I was able to pay off my graduate student loans a year early because of my money management.
That's awesome. How does that make you feel?
It was awesome. I mean, it was really great. It was a huge accomplishment. I set a goal. I had a strategy. I was able to work more than one job at the time, and so I was able to achieve that goal. So that was a pretty good feeling.
Yay. Who wants to go next?
I will. I would say as a mom of grown children, adult children, it's so nice to see them be smart about money. And that's my proudest money moment, is that they are on the road to financial security because they're putting into place things that they learned about money management growing up. In fact, my oldest son came home when he was in college. He came home with a textbook and said, Mom, this textbook was $150 in the bookstore, and I found it online for $35. I was so proud. I wanted to take the receipt and put it up on the refrigerator like you do their little kid art.
That's awesome.
He didn't ask you for the remainder?
That's great. Jesse, would you like to chime in?
You know, I'd agree with Jinnifer. You know, when you pay off debt that you have, that's definitely a good feeling. And you know, I've hit a couple of those milestones here in the last several years, between paying off my student loans to paying off my mortgage. You know, I mean, you know, there is that sense of freedom when you don't have that debt. And even, you know, Jinnifer started talking about vehicles, and I was originally thinking about that when you threw the question out there, because, you know, we jump into debt, but, you know, like I keep thinking of my truck. You know, I have a truck. I don't use it very often, but I have apartment buildings, and so I need it. But it's an 08. It's getting old. It's got, you know, 140-some thousand miles on it, and I keep thinking, man, I'd like to have a new truck, but is that a good place to put my money, right? I mean, what I have is working for me. Even though it's old, even though it's starting to rust a little bit, it meets the needs that I have. So even though here that needs and wants concept, right? Even though I want a new truck, what I have fulfills my needs for now. And the longer I can hold on to that, the less that I have to save to get another one.
Congratulations about paying off your mortgage. That's amazing. That's my next goal.
That is amazing. I agree.
My next goal.
Yeah. You know, and a big factor in that too, you know, my parents passed away, but and I inherited some money, not a large amount, but you know, we often find those situations where we stumble across money, whether it's like that or different things that you encounter. Maybe you get some money from a lottery ticket or something, but what do you do with that? And for me, you know, it was, why do I want to go out? I could have bought a new truck with it, you know, but you know, get rid of the burdens, get rid of the debt that you have, and start there. Then you can look at purchasing other things.
That's great, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Lorna.
So as I already mentioned, my son is going to college next year. And so when he was, I think 1 or even less than 1, we started a college education savings fund for him. And it's not, you know, overflowing with funds, but it's more than what we would have saved if we hadn't set something like that up. And at the time, I mean, and we haven't even noticed the money that has gone into that account, but I feel good because it's hopefully going to set him up a little bit better as he goes to college. And so he can maybe have a little bit of more financial flexibility in terms of making decisions about things that he can do, because he'll have those funds available for him.
I think that's a proud like mama moment, like Laura said, like her child like being like, look, I got this book for super cheap instead of like paying full price for it. I think that's also like, wow, I'm really helping my child with their education and kind of helping push them forward. So I think you should give yourself a pat on the back. That's a great thing. I'm going to answer my own question because I did make this question and I thought this was kind of cool. I did pay off my student loans this last year, both mine and my friends. It was like a huge thing for us. We did inherit a sum of money, and that sum of money did help us. And we were like, bye-bye student loans, bye-bye. Like, see you later, alligators. Because you're just killing my soul. But you know, they were, you know, they do. But that's just me. But I also think the other thing I was thinking about when I was thinking about this question was like how grateful I am that I have a degree in personal finance and that my life lessons can help others. And so that's another thing that I'm really, really proud of. You know, going through both my degrees and now doing cool things like this. So I don't know how about you guys feel about that, but it's what I'm excited about and I'm really proud about as well. I'm going to check out the Twitter. The Twitter says, so Barbara Neal says that her proudest moment was running the 30 Days of Savings Challenge last month. That was really cool. I know I was a part of that. She said there were over 400 great ideas. And my colleague Kamaya says, she says, creating a repayment goal for my student loans while I was in school and diligently working toward paying it off. I think that takes a lot of, not the word finesse, it's not what I want to say, but, you know, taking that time to make that goal and then move forward in actually achieving it. I think that's really great. So some good answers over on the Twitter chat. I love it. So question number 8. I know we're all getting antsy, getting toward the end here. But what or who is your number one personal finance information resource? Who or what is your number one personal finance resource?
Honestly, I know we have that expression preaching to the choir, but extension resources are the first place I look when I'm looking for something because I know they're reliable research-based resources. So when I do a search for some money topic, I usually put in extension or cooperative extension service or other education or government resources are really my very, very first line of attack when I'm going to look for a piece of information on personal finance.
I would echo that. I second that.
CFPB, other government resources as well. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
I do the Federal Trade Commission a lot as well. They've got good things too, particularly when there was so much concern about some of the security data breaches and some of the changes with the credit freeze. So that was really helpful to have that quickly available.
I'm going to put a plug out for AFCPE because I'm kind of a recycled career person here. And when I first started with the extension, the AFC accreditation was something I was encouraged to get. And that really helped me expand my knowledge, even though I had, some degrees in business and an MBA. The AFC was really helpful with the personal finance side. So that also that personal finance booklet by Gorman was really helpful as well.
I'm going to echo what Jesse just said. I think the AFCPE webinars and the educational programming that they do not only helps to keep me current in my accreditation, but it's just so I think it really just lets us know what is happening with in the economy, what's happening with people, and helps us really to stay relevant and to be able to meet the needs of our consumers.
So I'm going to echo all of you and say that normally I look at cooperative extension things. I also look for research-based information from our researchers, especially those who are in extension first. And then I think most of you know this, but I'm very much a part of AFCPE. I do lots of things for them, and I actually just tweeted out to them that I am, that's one of the places that I go to get not only up-to-date information, but new information, and I get to learn about cool new things and get to meet really, really awesome people. I get to meet military members, and I get to meet other private practitioners like Jerry Bujko, who's our former AFCPE president and was tweeting with us earlier. So just some great things. But I think for us, maybe it's easy to say like, this is our number one, but like if you were talking to, a young person or something, what would you tell them that their first number one should be, or like, who should they be looking for other than maybe us extension? Like what should they be looking for? This is another question for you to ask while we're hanging out.
I was thinking Laura mentioned the CFPB, but the FDIC has a good online program that around the Money Smart concept. And it's kind of a self-paced online type of thing. So, some good information there. I can also, the Federal Reserve of Dallas has a building wealth workbook, a very informative tool that I use at different times. So Laura mentioned the kind of the government websites, but those are some of those other sites other than CFPB that I go to.
And NEFI, National Endowment for Financial Education, has great resources online, lots of online courses and materials targeting different age groups or different stations or situations in life too.
I think the one for the young adults is called Cash Course.
Yes.
Somebody told me there's a little thing out there called All My Money too. So
Yeah.
That looks so familiar. I wonder why. Thanks, Jesse. Shout out. Woo.
Is that from Illinois?
Yeah, I wrote that.
Oh,
You did? Oh, I didn't.
I
better
did.
get one of
Yeah.
those.
I helped write it. I didn't write it by myself. I won't take all that credit.
Wow.
But I did.
So so for young adults, I think that, I honestly don't know that they're going to seek out that research-based information initially. I strongly promote Cash Course and have different activities throughout the semesters for students to utilize Cash Course to learn more about their finances. But I actually think that maybe a lot of what they learn or seeking out information is from other people. Maybe it's podcasts, maybe it's blogs and that kind of thing. And I'm going to steal something from that Barb O'Neill said once, is that sometimes with blogs or with financial community, they have an N of 1 where it's their situation and and they're capitalizing on what they've learned from their experiences and then using that as a platform to be able to teach others. And I think that it's important for us to be able to promote our research-based information because and be really clear that not everyone is going to manage their finances exactly the same way. And I think sometimes with podcasters, with bloggers, that they're promoting what works best for them and maybe not opening it up to there being other ways to promote that information. So as financial educators, I think it's really important that we continue to utilize the relevant resources and then just make sure everybody understands that there are different ways to manage your finances effectively, and not everybody is going to do everything the same way and be successful.
I think that's a great thing to remember. You may have your favorite educator or podcaster or blogger out there, but like they have their way that they did it, and not everyone can do that way. So I think that's a great thing, Lorna. So thank you for bringing up that point. So as we are kind of closing out, we got about 10 more minutes left between now and the end of our Twitter chat and our YouTube live session. I want to know, how do you learn best about being money? How do you learn about being money smart best? What do you use? What do you really look at the most? Yeah, we talked about a couple things, but like, how do you learn best? And then maybe some tips on how maybe other people could learn best too.
I'm a paper, pencil, tangible kind of person. So in addition to self-study and accessing research-based information, I really like guided handouts or guided worksheets or curriculums where you can fill in information, because I think it helps me personally own that content, and then it gets me more excited about actually taking the next step with my own situation.
I like to listen to I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I like to listen to a variety of sources of information and then kind of let it percolate and then be able to apply it to my situation and figure out what works best for me. I mean, I'm constantly kind of tweaking how I'm doing things based on what I've learned, and I'm very hands-on too. So just being able to kind of dig in and work with it, changing things around, kind of figuring out what is the best way to meet my goal and to get the results that I want. So I actually do a lot of, maybe you could call it informal research, where I'm listening to new ideas and just trying to figure out if that's an idea that would work for me, how I feel about it, and then can I incorporate that into my management.
What about you, Jesse?
I was thinking, the other end of the spectrum, what am I least likely to do? And I'm not much of a sit down and read a book kind of person. So I'm more of a kinesthetic in terms of my learning style, or my preferred learning style. So anytime that I'm engaged in the process of learning, whether that's the pencil and paper, or whether that's me filling in the blanks to work through a problem, that's my preferred style of learning. Now, as an extension agent with a cluster, I'm also on the road a lot. So I'll listen to things on podcast or on the radio to use my time wisely as I'm going down the road.
I do that as well. Very much a podcast listener. What about you, Laura?
I do like to listen to podcasts just for new information and to get just kind of a broader vision of money management, learn some things that I may not have known before. But then also, I think it kind of depends on the situation, because of what you're trying to learn about is, how much of a difference in your payment on your total payout that a difference in interest rates might make. Then you may want to be doing something with pencil and paper, or using an online calculator or some other method. So I think it a little bit depends on the task at hand.
I think these are all great answers. I wanted to see kind of what our Twitter tweeters were saying about this because, you know, we all have different learning styles. I kind of heard, you know, we kinesthetic learning, visual learning, you know, doing it ourselves, just being in the paper and pencil. Over here it says, Wisebread definitely says, for me, it's definitely tweet chats. And we know that they do a lot of really great tweet chats and we love learning from them as well. So really appreciate their time in doing those things. Janet Alvarez says she likes online articles to stay up to date on personal finance related topics. So, you know, we get to read those as well and, you know, keep informed ourselves. My colleague Kamaya says a combination of podcasts, blogs, websites, and in-person sessions. I think those are great as well. And then Jerry Buchko says, I learn best by working a real problem or situation that provides a natural framework for incorporating the subject matter. So it sounds like we all kind of learn in all different ways, and that's kind of why we do education in all sorts of different ways too, right? I like to look at like what Lorna said. I like to look at everything and kind of like make it fit into things I like to learn about too. Like this is so like morbid, but I was recently learning about burials, like the different types of burials, and I didn't really know about like the different costs, and so I went to go look at the costs, and then I wrote like a blog post on it because I thought it was like timely information to release. So it was just something that I was interested in, and I was like, oh, this could be, how can I spin this in a personal finance way? So thank you for laughing. I love it. So we are getting very, very close to the end. But I really liked this question. I actually wrote this one because I think I want to hear, what is your best money smart mantra? Like if you had to say something to yourself in the mirror every day about money or whatever it is, like what is that mantra for you?
So I have this mantra and I actually use it when I'm doing educational sessions and things like that. But my mantra is that you are in control of your money. Your money is not in control of you.
I'm letting it sink in for a second because I really like it. What about you, Jesse?
You know, my high school football coach, he said, excuses don't bring championships. And I've said that all my life, that, you know, you're not going to go anywhere if you continue to make excuses why you don't. And like I said earlier, everybody's situation is different, but you have to start somewhere and you have to do something. And doing something is better than just making an excuse.
I have two quick ones. My first is live below my means, or live below your means. And the second is I want to be in the driver's seat of my finances.
I like both of those. I really hope every morning you guys get up and say this to yourselves in the mirror, because I would just love that. I would just love it. What about you, Laura?
I'm going to borrow from Joseph Campbell and say, circling back around to that mindful money management thing, say find your bliss, because as Lorna mentioned earlier, true joy and happiness in life don't come from money. They come from finding your bliss and then using the other resources in your life to work toward that meaningful area. So find your bliss.
I like them. I like everyone's. That's really good. My money mantra actually comes from a famous music artist, Mumford & Sons. They have a song called Awake Your Soul. And this line has always just got me. The line is, where you invest your love, you invest your life. And that it would be my money mantra of like, that's where, you know, where your life is where you invest your love is where you invest your life. And I think that's, even though it's like sort of money related, because we talk about investing, that's what mine would be. So,
but it's focusing on, it's focusing on what's really important to you. And like where, you know, if family is where you're investing your love, then that's where you're going to put your finances and you're going to do what you can to take care of your family. I like that too.
It helps me kind of to redirect, you know, like if I notice myself as like, if I'm focused on something else, if my love is going someplace else, it helps me to redirect to where I want it to be. So, yeah.
Good.
I love it. Well, that's it, everybody. We hit the 3 o'clock mark where we started a little late, but we got through. I love learning about everyone's different ice cream flavors. That was really fun. I'm so glad we got to learn about all the different, we talked about goals and misinformation and, just kind of being money smart. And I appreciate all of your time. I'm so glad you guys got to be on today and join me. Looking forward to doing some of this again next year. But I hope you all have a great day, that you learned something new, and maybe you have a new money mantra. Trust me, I do. Like, I loved everyone's. Those were great. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks for getting this organized and getting us all set up. So
Thank you.